Hi, my friends. Welcome. This is the Back to Me podcast, and this is Heather, and I am super excited that you're here. You are going to hear some tips and some tricks and some ideas to help you live your happiest and healthiest self. I call it Back to Me because when you are taking care of yourself, back to me, then you can take better care of others, and we can all make the world a better place. This is Wellness Your Way, and I am super happy that you're here. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Back to Me podcast. This is Heather. And as always, we're going to do some amazing talking today with some amazing humans. And today I have Dr. Martine Canal, Self-Care Strategist. Dun, da, da. I should have clapping. Wow, and everything. Hello, my friend. How are you doing?
I am doing great, Heather, and thank you for having me on your podcast. Your podcast is amazing because I talk about self-care, you talk about self-care. We just in sync with each other.
Right. And you know what? I'm starting to feel like we keep talking about it, but I don't think it's landing yet. I don't think people are getting fully how important it is yet. It's like, yeah, we hear you, self-care, but we're going to talk about that. But first of all, how did you become a self-care strategist? What led you down this to become a self-care strategist?
Well, my story, Heather, let me take you back to when I was 16 years old.
Just last year.
Overnight, my life changed when my mother, who was in the early 40s, suffered a massive stroke that left her paralyzed on her left side of her body. Now, the first time I saw her, it was heartbreaking because she was laying helpless on a hospital bed. She couldn't even hold her own toothbrush. It was just, I couldn't understand what was happening. She was looking at me, trying to talk to me, crying out for help, but I couldn't even hear her.
Right.
So that instantly, I became a caregiver.
Right.
So, with everything Jim Carrey says, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. But back then I didn't know. So
Well, you wouldn't see it that way. It's that age, right? You're like, oh my
I
gosh.
didn't know, but that was my first, that's what the first experience of me helping others. So of course with change, we have to adapt. So we moved on. So here I was in my 40s now, doing the hustling and bustling, trying to pursue the American dream, and then having all the cars and the houses and children in private school, but still it's not enough. And so an overachiever, and you're working and working. I had reached the highest ceiling in my nursing profession. So what else could I do? But that was during time of COVID, stress everywhere.
Right.
And one day I was home. My boss had told me to stay home because I was working too much. I didn't like it because it was money out of my pocket. But that day I sat down on my couch, Heather, and that's when I realized that I was overwhelmed, stressed out, overworked, overweight, and not taking care of myself. And on top of that, I had a headache that was pounding in the back of my head. So I knew that my blood pressure was high.
Right.
So this fear came upon me that what happened to my mom would happen to me.
Definitely.
So that's when I had that mindset changed. And that's when my self-care journey started.
Do you know what is so good about that is because I think everybody eventually, maybe sooner than later, comes to that realization that, oh my gosh, I've been getting messages, but sometimes you don't get the message till you're in the hospital.
Yes.
So thank goodness your boss told you to go sit down, and you took 2 minutes to go, hold on, I don't feel great. There's something wrong. And
Right.
you had that memory drop back in to say, this is not sustainable. It's not good. It could lead to something worse than where you are now,
Mm-hmm.
and that you were able to just put the brakes on. And I mean, I was actually just on a podcast this morning where one of my questions was, what is enough?
Yeah.
You know, when do you know you like we prize hustle, 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 hustle and reward it. But when do you know that you've hit what you need?
Right.
Or do you just forget and keep going? So what did you do? Did you leave your job? Did you?
So, no, but believe it or not, at the time, remember I told you that I had reached the ceiling. You know, when you reach the ceiling, so now when you're in your 40s, now you say, okay, you want to feel that you still have that self-worth, that
Yeah.
you can still accomplish things. So I enrolled myself in medical school.
Why not?
So the first thing that I did, Heather, was to jump out of school. I was like, no. And that's at that point, I started thinking, what's my purpose? What do I want? And then I realized medical school wasn't it. So then I started, even though I was not in that type of schooling, but now I started learning about self-care
Right.
and self-development. And
So how do you define self-care when you talk to people?
well, I say there's an art to it. It is for you to be able to prioritize yourself and take care of you, regardless of what's going on around you. Because again, as I said, if something happens to you, everything around you will keep on going.
Yeah,
And
except you. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I was actually just on LinkedIn of all things, and somebody commented that they felt like they took self-care as spending money on themselves to do something. And I was thinking, that's so limiting because you don't need to spend dollars on yourself to take care of yourself. You need to spend time. I mean, dollars are one thing that we have hang-ups about and we have stories, but spending time with yourself, I think that's for some people even harder than spending money on yourself.
So self-care is not an indulgence.
No.
It's a necessity.
Yeah.
And you don't have to feel guilty about it. I do not feel guilty. And sometimes it's a skill you have to eventually be comfortable in feeling that, it's not selfish. It's not
Right.
selfish.
And when you're talking to people who are, I mean, there's certain generation that I think of, like my mother-in-law's and is 97. And she wouldn't even take a taxi cab to go play bridge because she just thought that was too much of an indulgence. And I know there's a generational understanding. So when you're talking self-care and you come up against that wall, like what is some of the things that you hear or that you've helped people kind of see past and maybe move to the next idea?
Well, to me, this is why it's so important for me to educate.
Right.
I feel like we're educators.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to establish that foundation, the foundation that taking care of yourself is the most important things in your life. Sometimes it's a matter of life and death. My aunt wasn't that lucky because she died when she suffered her stroke,
Oh
and
my goodness.
she was I want to say maybe in her 50s.
So your aunt and your mother.
Yes.
You know, I had a stroke myself during COVID in 2021. And when I asked them a question about heredity, they said, "Oh no, it's not hereditary. It just happens." And I thought, well, my grandmother on my father's side passed away at 63 from a stroke. And my younger brother had a stroke in his 40s. I said, maybe we just have floppy arteries. But it changes your perspective when something like that happens to you, if you can manage to get past it. I was lucky. I spent 3 days in the emergency room with nobody allowed to visit me because of COVID. So I had a 3-day silent retreat. So my boss didn't tell me to go sit at home and relax like you got. I got the universe saying, kicked me in the butt and said, you're going to sit in the hospital for 3 days and relax. So
But that gave you the time to think, right?
oh my goodness, did I
Yeah.
thought a lot.
Yeah.
And that's where this podcast came from, actually, because my podcast before was a business podcast. But I know you have this book. That's your book behind you, is it? Radiant Living.
Radiant Living.
For people who are listening and not seeing, I can see that book behind you.
This is transforming your life through self-care. And I talk about my 3 different pillars, which is physical health, mental health, social health. So I describe strategies and tips and the reason why you need to do these things. You want to be able to keep your independence, keep your voice, you have a strong voice, and not depend on other people to make decisions for you. So that's the reason why. Even though I give all the strategies in the world, if it doesn't relate to you, it doesn't resonate with you, you're not going to do them. You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it.
And I think that every person has something inside of them that needs to be shared with the world.
Mhm.
And I think that, it can take a while to find it. It takes some years maybe to find it. But I think by doing what you're saying, like taking care of your physical health, taking care of, what was the second one? Emotional?
Definitely mental. With what's going on in this world.
Right. And having the right social connections. I mean, isolation is how we punish people, right? We're social beings. So coming back out of, I know some people post-COVID are still kind of off kilter from being isolated for so long. They still haven't figured out how to integrate back in. But I think recognizing that taking care of those things will help you when you do discover what it is you're meant to do, right? I mean, like you, when I was in my 40s, I went back to school for 2 years to become a registered massage therapist because you needed 2 years of schooling here to get that, because we have medical certifications for massage here. But it's interesting, as you're starting to find these things that you are meant to do, sometimes you don't want to do them when you're 16, but you're meant to do them. You feel more energized. And I feel like sometimes finding that calling is a form of self-care. Have you found that since you started doing this that you're doing now, I know nursing probably was rewarding, but what you're doing now, do you feel more aligned?
Yes, I feel I'm more aligned with my purpose, and it's my why.
Right.
Every day I say, if I can save one person's, it can be life, but mental health or anything that could improve, elevate their mood or elevate their physical health, or have them join, be part of a community so that they can, be able to express themselves for whatever reason. Because if they're not talking, sometimes this is how people commit suicide.
Right.
Because
think that you're alone.
Yes. But if you have one ear that can listen to you, I'll be that ear. I'd be that ear. I'll listen to you.
And I just remember, do you remember that story of the person who decided to kill themselves, and they were walking to, I can't remember, some famous bridge, and the note that they left said, if one person smiles at me or acknowledges me, I won't kill myself, but no one did.
That's terrible.
Right? And I'm thinking, wow. And I feel like it was New York City. It could be an urban legend at this point. But if you think about the number of people that you encounter on a daily basis, just walking by them, if you just acknowledge a person, that's not dangerous. I don't know why we feel like it's dangerous. We've got PTSD. We're all afraid to smile at someone and say hello. I mean, I say hello just because I feel like, I want the world to be friendly. And I'm like you. I find what excites me about helping people is that same thing. If you can help one person feel better, then you've helped that person. But also, part of mine is I know by helping one person, the people around them are going to be impacted,
Positively, yes.
right? And then that will ripples out. And the more ripples that we can make, the bigger the wave we can make, right?
Absolutely. It's a
Yeah,
movement.
it's a movement.
We are creating movement, Heather.
Let's get drop these pebbles into the water. Pebbles, pebbles, pebbles.
Yes, absolutely.
So when you're helping people with your ear and with your strategies, do you find there's some in common that people resonate with, or is it so individual that it could be anything?
No, it depends because some people focus more on like their physical health,
Yeah.
for example, because if they do a self-assessment, that's where they have the most challenges. And then some people physically they're great, but mentally they're not there,
Yeah.
and they need help with that. So it's highly individual, highly individual.
And I find sometimes the people that I work with that are very unhappy with their physical health, it's the standard that they're holding themselves to is something they've seen in an ad or an influencer. It's not actually health. It's their perception of how they should appear outwardly, like how you should look. Like,
And sometimes it's ingrained, it's an inner issue going on. And
mhm,
once you get to the root of what, maybe it's something that happened in their past as a child, and then now it's expressing itself physically. But if you fix the problem, the root of it, the root cause of it, then everything else will take shape, and they'll be able to be physically healthier, for example.
right. And it's interesting. Sometimes people are physically healthy and they feel like they're somehow lacking. And I'm thinking of two things. I have a client who, when she was younger,
Mhm,
she did a couple years as a model,
mhm.
and she's in very good physical shape. And if people saw her, they'd think she looks great. But even though she knows that that impacted her, and sometimes she doesn't catch that voice that's telling her that she's not good enough is that old one that said, to walk down the runway in this outfit, you have to be this, this, and this. And even sometimes when you recognize it, you have to spend that time catching that voice, that old voice that's still talking to you, or the kind ear that's listening will catch it for you.
Well, sometimes that's what I say, that you have to retreat to a quiet area, environment, so that you are able to hear, because your body is whispering.
Hmm.
And if you don't pay attention, like the negative self-talk and all of that, then you're not gonna, and if you see in the media, who are the people that are usually committing suicide? The models, the influencers, the ones that are looking, in great shape.
Right. I just thinking like Kate Spade, who seemed to have everything in the world,
Hmm.
and you hear she
Yep.
committed suicide. You're like, what are you talking about? That doesn't even compute, you know?
The money doesn't bring happiness.
No, it does pay for, you know. I listen to. Do you know who Michael Beckwith is?
Yes, I saw that now. I'm familiar with it.
Yes, he. I like he. I did a course with, like it was a digital course, but he talks coin of the realm. He said, we need coin of the realm for food and shelter and some things, clothes, but we don't need to attach to the coin of the realm.
Yes.
I actually just saw him live recently, and
Oh,
I even got a hug from him.
oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
I know. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. Um, I'm such a groupie, such a transformation groupie, but and I feel like sometimes you can see, or you can see where someone is struggling, and you want to help them. Or maybe if someone in the audience says, I know somebody who is really struggling, I know that they could really use some help. If that person is, I call, the pre-contemplation stage, they don't even know what they don't know yet.
Right.
Is there a way that you think that you can broach the subject or bring up the subject to kind of help someone unlock this place of knowing?
Well, you can always give advice. You can always give advice. But if the person is not ready to receive, is not ready for you to help them, maybe they don't even know, as you said, they don't know they have a problem.
They just got their blinders on. They got their ears plugged, going la 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 la.
But by giving them the knowledge and the information, then once they realize it, once they have that self-awareness, they say, oh, I remember. Martine said this. Martine said that.
Right.
Martine said, oh, yes, I can join the community to get some support.
Do you
So
you have a community that people can kind of?
I do have a Facebook group, which is for women over 40, and I go there religiously every day, and I provide strategies and tips. I ask questions, and I'm there to remind them that they have to take care of themselves every day, like
Right.
clockwork. Either it's a holiday, it's not a holiday, 365 days a week.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
have to
exactly.
take care of your body because
Man,
you're
if there's
not getting no
365
vacation.
days in a week, I'll lose my mind. But yeah, it's true. It's not as something people will think, I'll do that on my vacation.
No.
And then,
Sometimes vacation can be more stressful
well, people
than
get
being
sick
at
on
home.
their vacations, right? Because they've pushed themselves so far. They've held themselves together so long. They promise their body subconsciously, I'll take care of you on vacation. They hit vacation and your body goes, okay, you said, so I'm just letting it all go. And
Actually, tonight after you, Heather, I'm doing like a master class, self-care and travel.
oh, that's
Talk-
good.
I'm talking about taking care of yourself beforehand, before trying, when in the planning stage, and you're
Yeah.
not finding the flight that you want, you're not finding the hotel that you want, and all this stress that's come with it. And then during the travel, when, let's say, you leave the kids at home and you're with your partner, and now you spend the whole time on the phone because you're worrying about the children, and now your partner is looking at you like, so that's a
Thought we
problem.
were on vacation.
Or when you're trying to do everything in one day. No.
No, not good for you.
That's what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah. And this is going to air at the end of December. So it's perfect timing, because this is when people start to think about, it's a new year. Oh my goodness, another year has gone by. Oh my goodness. I like to take stock of everything that I've achieved
Mm-hmm.
in the year, and everything I still want to achieve, because I don't think there's a finish line in my life. I'll be
Oh, yeah.
like, I'll be
Oh,
going, not yet. I'm not done. Not yet.
I think we're going to be 95 and still going, because this is a topic that we're passionate about.
And it's going to take a while for it to sink in,
Yeah.
but it is a good time for people because there is usually a pause at the end of the year from work and things going on between parties. Like there's a pause between Christmas and New Year's, when
Yeah.
hopefully there's no parties or anything, and you can spend some time and think about things you want, or strategies. So are you going to be having some kind, I mean, you might not know right now. Do you have something end of year planned for your Facebook group and all of the people who are going to tune into you?
Well, I like to plan goals. I like to have goals,
Hmm.
because the way that I do is that you assess right now, right here, right now, what you are.
And be honest with yourself.
Correct. And nobody's looking, nobody's listening. This is you. And you have to be truthful to yourself. And then you plan. And that's the goal part. Once you know what you want, then you can plan, weekly, monthly, whatever, yearly. But you want to have small goals, small steps. And then you execute. You execute. So this is how I work. And I like to work quarterly. I don't like to plan something for a whole year, 3 months, and then we evaluate where I am. So for January, I mean December, going into January, I'm probably gonna do another goal setting little class so that we can decide, because we are the captain of our ship. So we can decide where we're going and how we're going to do it so that we can achieve our goals, because we know what we want and we know where we want to be. It's all about us deciding for ourselves.
Right.
Okay? Because you're not living my life and I'm not living your life. And what you like to do,
we have things in common, but we probably have things not in common.
no, I would like to have a summer off too, just like you do.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting because I love the 3-month setting of goals, because for a couple of reasons. One is it's short enough that it doesn't feel overwhelming, right? So you're not going to set a huge goal to hit in 3 months. You're going to pick the milestone, the step towards the huge goal. So if your huge goal is, I don't know, something, because we were talking about physical health, and I'm not saying people are overweight, but let's say you wanted to lose 100 pounds.
There's a lot of overweight people around.
There is. I know there is, but I don't want to, I'm not fat shaming. I'm just going to use this as an example. So say your huge goal was to lose 100 pounds. You're not going to do that in 3 months. So in 3 months, you're going to say, what can I lose in 3 months? And it'll seem achievable because it's that smaller piece. And when I was an accountant, I was a CPA for 15 years. And the thing about only looking, if you make a goal for a whole year and you don't look for that whole year on how you're progressing, how do you know if you're going to get there or not? So I like that quarterly, the 3-month thing, because it's more achievable and it gives more check-in. It gives you that better ability to see, oh yeah, I'm doing good. Oh yeah, I've done this. Or, ooh, this isn't working. Let's tweak it. Let's adjust this or this or this.
Well, I myself, I was overweight. I was. So I planned, and then I executed, and I took small steps, because sometimes if you try to achieve too much in a short amount of time, you get discouraged.
Yeah.
You get discouraged that you're not achieving your goals, and then you just give up.
Yeah.
You just give up.
Yeah. Sometimes I refer to myself as a real life coach, because I say whatever solutions we come up with, they have to fit your real life. So they fit your life now. As it evolves, it will change. But if it doesn't fit now, you're not going to do it. Right. Amazing. I love that we are going to start our tidal wave of self-care into the world, and not the self-care where people are just being dicks. I'm going to be upfront here, people. Mark Manson's book, is the life-changing magic. No, what did he call it? Something about not giving an F. But in the book, he says, advocate for yourself, decide for yourself, but don't be a jerk. So taking care of yourself does not translate directly into being a jerk to other people. It just means you're taking care of yourself. Right.
Yeah, and I always like this quote by Maya Angelou: when you know better, you do better.
So good.
Period. You just, like, in my experience, I've seen it, and I see it all the time at work. I see it. I see the patients.
Yeah.
And they get to the point where they come to the hospital and they have this look like, help me, help me. I wish I could, I would have done this that way. I wish I would have. I wish I would have.
Don't wait till you're in the hospital.
Yeah.
Where can they find you, by the way?
Well, they can find me. I have my website, martinecanal.com. But if they type Self-Care Genius, which is the name of my company, Self-Care Genius, where I help women over 40 to elevate their health so they can live their best life. So it's selfcaregenius.com. And then even there, I have free gifts that I give. Like it's a self-assessment that they can take of their physical, mental, and social health so that they know where they are. And then with that, I give some strategies and tips, like weekly, monthly tips that they can take so that they can jumpstart their journey of self-care.
That's amazing. That's so good.
Mm-hmm.
So if you didn't catch that, don't worry. It's going to be in the show notes. We've got all the notes there for you. And of course, we want you to share this with your friends. But before we go, I always give my amazing guests the last words of wisdom. Do you have a final thought to mic drop for the audience?
Just remember, what did you do for self-care today? Because at the end of the day, it's all about you living your best life, living a productive and meaningful life. So let's get together and let's elevate to the next level so we can just enjoy our lives.
So good.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. That was an excellent conversation. I feel like we could just hang out with a cup of tea and talk self-care all day long, right?
We could. But let's get out there. We can, because we know each other, but now let's get out there and spread the message.
Spread the message. And you heard that, friends. So like the episode, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Leave us a comment. I love comments. I will read and respond to all the comments eventually. I'm a bit slow sometimes on YouTube. Sorry, you guys. But definitely send it to someone that this is a good way to introduce self-care to someone who's not taking care of themselves. Say, hey, I heard this great podcast. Have a listen. And we'll just sneak it in. Sound good? Thanks, my friends. Take care. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Hi, my friend. Thanks so much for listening to this entire podcast. If you found it useful and you're like me and you like helping others, please feel free to share this. Give it a like, give it a comment. If you found something useful in it, there's a chance that someone else will find something useful as well. Also, if you have any questions at all, I can absolutely help and I would love to help. You can email me at heather@prosperityflowcoaching.com. If you want more of this awesome content, you can follow me on Instagram, Heather Stewart Coaching. You can follow me on Facebook, Prosperity Flow Coaching. And I have a personal request. I want to help as many people as I can with these podcasts. And if you could give me a review, hopefully a good one, if you could share, if you could send this out into the world, I would truly appreciate it. I hope you have an amazing day. And I hope that you find your way to wellness by getting back to me. Take care, my friend.